Hello everyone, I just thought I'd do a very quick video to give an update on some cacti that need a little bit of rescue work. So I've been away from my collection for 5 weeks, and when I came back I discovered that many of my grafts on Perisciopsis were looking a little worse for wear. The Perisciopsis had shed all its leaves because it had become too dry. The scions look reasonably okay. So this one here on the right is looking fairly healthy. Obviously no leaves there, but I think this one is going to be okay and will keep on growing. But this one on the left, I posted these pictures on the internet asking people's opinions, and it was suggested that this area here is looking a little unhealthy and perhaps the stock is dying. So my intention is to regraft this one onto Trichocereus and see if I can get it to grow a bit better on there. The other one, I have here a Mammillaria elongata cristata. Before I went away, I discovered a little bit of rot and cut it out. I thought I was probably in the clear, but the whole thing is basically deteriorating. It's drying out. It's not healthy at all. So what I'm planning to do is also take a cutting from this and going to graft that onto my Trichocereus pachanoi. I have a couple of plants here and we'll see what happens. So before I start, I have a little blade here. I'm going to sterilise that with alcohol. Make sure I keep everything nice and clean. I don't want to introduce any infections to the plants while I'm cutting them. So just wipe that off. Now, this is the bit where I'm actually not very sure what part of this plant I'm going to go for. This is very soft. This side here is a bit harder. So I think what I'm going to do is try and remove a section of this, maybe like so, and like this. There we go. So I now have a small section there which hopefully I can use for the graft. Let's re-sterilise the blade. Always allow the blade to dry off before cutting. And here we go. So I'm going to cut it about here, I think. Yes. Go. Let's drop the blade. Right, so that's the top removed. Now I'm going to bevel the edges here so that as the stock dries out, the edges tend to curl up, so I don't want them to curl up and push the scion off. So I've never actually grafted to Trichocereus before. I've done Myrtilla cactus and I've had some success there. I'm hoping this is going to be similar. It's a similar width. There we go. And a little bit more there. Now, at this point, I'm just going to re-clean the blade. Okay. So this is the bit where be very careful. Oops, I'm going to just cut another little bit off there to keep that moist. Oops, okay, that didn't work. Let's try again. Try again. I'm not doing very well here. Where's it gone? There it is. Right. So, with my scion, I'm going to do another clean cut here. It's not very easy to see where the vascular bundles are, so I'm just going to be doing an educated guess. Make sure the vascular bundles are lined up as best I can. That's pretty good there. And the final thing, again, this is new to me. This is a piece of stocking. I've been told this works very well because the spines hold it in place. I think that is fairly good. So I'll leave that in a sort of coolish place to allow the scion to stick on. Hopefully we'll get some good join between the vascular bundles. Now this one is going to be similar. There's probably a slightly easier scion because it's, as you can see, it's sort of rounded, fairly straightforward cut. But what I'm going to do here, it's the same thing. I like to leave a reasonable amount because these tops I will reroot. I let them dry for a week or two before putting them in a relatively dry substrate, and they should start forming roots. If it's too small, they'll just shrivel up and die. On the other hand, if I cut it too low, the graft may not work because there's too much woody material. So it's always a bit of a judgment, and I'm going to go here. I have a suspicion this plant is not hydrated enough. It feels a bit soft. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if you can see here, the vascular bundle is not actually circular. I don't know why that is. I've never seen that before. Perhaps it's a bit dehydrated. Anyway, I've come this far. There's not really any going back. I can't put it back together again. So, yeah, that's definitely a bit soft. I don't think it's going mushy or anything like that. I think it's just not as hydrated enough for grafting. So, I'm slightly wondering if this is going to be problematic. But we shall see. I'm fairly new to this myself, so it's all a little bit of experimentation, trying to work out what works and what doesn't. A little bit more that side that needs to come down on the bevel. Right, so let's do a little bit of a top there just to keep that moist. And here I'm going to go for about there. That's looking good. Spikes on this are going to make it slightly awkward to actually hold in place. But we'll give it the best shot we can. And do the same old trick with the stocking, if I can. So hold that in place like so. And perhaps need a bit more tension on that. Right, okay. So that's those two done. Now I'm slightly curious as to whether this really is going to die. So what I've done is I've left a little bit there with a couple of areoles on the remaining part of the scion. If this is viable, I expect we might see some pups coming out of there. Again, I don't know, it's an experiment, we shall see. So that's this morning's tasks done. I may do an update perhaps in a couple of weeks when I've seen whether these have taken and whether they've succeeded or not. Okay, bye everyone.